How is the color black represented in Bloomburrow? In today's video, we're going to be breaking down the 4 animal folk creature types in Bloomburrow that align themselves with black in order to further understand the philosophy behind black mana. By the end of the video, I aim to give you a further understanding of black mana philosophy by looking at how supposedly an evil color is represented in a set that prides itself in wholesome vibes and fluffy, cute animals. Okay, so the first animal folk we are going to be looking at are squirrels. Now, what makes squirrels aligned with black mana? So to start with, let's look at the role of squirrels within Valley. And if you don't know, Valley is where Bloomburrow is set. So within Valley, squirrels are in charge essentially of food storage. That is their primary role. Now, the reason that squirrels take on this role is because naturally they are hoarders. Now, from the outside, this could be seen as being greedy, which is inherently a black trait. They hoard all this food primarily for themselves because they know that the world is a cruel place and Bloomburrow has its calamity beasts, which essentially is the cruel side of nature, the destructive side of nature, which they know is inevitably coming. And some of these calamity beasts can absolutely wreak havoc, destroy any sources of food storage, crops, all that stuff. So it's important for squirrels to make sure that they are there saving that food, protecting that food for a rainy day. So when those calamity beasts come a knocking, everyone is fine because they've got that food. Now, because they have so much, they have more than enough for themselves, and then whatever they have left, they can share with the rest of Valley's animal folk. So this is why they naturally take on this role. And even though it comes from a selfish point of view, this is a good thing. And squirrels also know that even though they tend to isolate themselves from society, they still need the other races for other things. So they still have to make sure that they are functioning to a certain degree. Now, what makes squirrels so heavily aligned with black, I believe, is the fact that they are heavily pragmatic, okay? So what this means is that they are all about the result. They don't care about doing things that are immoral as long as it gets them the result. And we can see this with the fact that they are so obsessed with death. They don't care that other animal folks shy away from it. They believe that death is a part of a valley's natural cycle. So they dive headfirst into this by using calamity beast bones to imbue powers on the food that they store. They build their homes around calamity beast bones. They even use some of their power sometimes for necromancy. Squirrels also believe that calamity beasts trap nature's natural energy, and it is their job to return this energy back to the earth. They do this through ritualistic burials of calamity beast bones throughout Valley. Now, from a personality standpoint, squirrels are self-concerned first. They are very isolated from society. They are land stewards, and they spend more time with Valley's land than they do with other animal folk. And this in turn is a black trait. How do rat folk align with black mana? So first of all, rat folk's job in Valley is to be the wisdom and secret keepers of the plane. Now, what makes rat folk align with black so heavily is that they do not share this knowledge with others. They are extremely secretive and extremely suspicious of outsiders. Now, this was not always the case, but generations ago, a certain mischievous individual decided to use the knowledge of the rats to try to control the calamity beasts and ended up pretty much causing an apocalypse. So we can understand why the rats are pretty much not wanting to let this happen again. Because of this, the rats are very, very mistrusting of others. They've been burnt before. They have come from a place of deep pain. They have seen the destruction that their knowledge can cause. They have seen what knowledge in the wrong hands can do. And therefore, they have decided to keep this knowledge and wisdom for themselves. Now, this could be seen as greed, which is heavily aligned with a black trait. Now they also live in harsh marshlands, and the reason for this is because they like to live at the end of the Long River, which is the biggest river in Valley, which runs all through Valley. All of the debris ends up getting washed into the river and going down in towards these marshlands where the rats can collect the debris. They can learn about all of the ancient relics that come floating in, learn about the individual materials. They can work out the origin of where things were created and why. So it's all about knowledge for rats. But because of this, they have to live in these harsh marshlands, which is not particularly a habitable environment. It has meant that they have had to live in hardship. They've had to essentially become one with the darkness. They've had to live in struggle in order to thrive. They also have close bonds with insects, which we know from Magic's history is a creature type that is heavily aligned with black. And they also use psychic snails as part of their power in order to manipulate and deceive the mind of others. They don't do this for sinister reasons. They actually do this to fend off trespassers. However, this is still a dark way to use magic. Okay, next up is lizards, and on the surface level, lizards don't actually look very aligned with black. When I was first reading their lore, I didn't really quite get it immediately, because at the start, it talks about lizards being very, very passionate. They live in the mountains. They're not very native to Bloomburrow. They came over here, blah, 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 blah. They are artists. They love metalwork and stuff like that. So I was like, I'm not really seeing much here. And it was not until I read the fact that lizards require the sun to get energy, so their homes are built around fire sources and all this stuff, right? Now, when they get too much energy, they start to overflow with this energy, and if it's left, eventually this turns into bloodlust. Now, this is where black comes in, because yes, this is quite sinister, but they also use this as a means to a purpose, because they will use this in combat. If they are going to battle or whatever, they will make sure that they get all this heat in order to fuel themselves with this bloodlust, this bloodthirst, and then go to battle for maximum gain. Okay, so this is very black aligned. They are essentially harming themselves in a way in order to get a greater power, or at least that ambition for that power, that aggression. Now, the lizard folks embodies the idea of destruction. They're obsessed with the awe of the moment and then its ending. That's almost the beauty of it. So whether it ends in flames and as it burns, or whether it decays, there is always an end. Now, their relationships with other animal folk tend to be very transactional. This doesn't make them inherently evil, but there's always a reason behind it, and if they owe a favor, they must repay it, and if someone else owes them a favor, then you best know that they are going to be repaying it. Now, because they are not native to Bloomburrow, they contribute to Valley society if and when they please. You could see this as self-centered and selfish, but really it's quite logical. Because they're outsiders, they're probably shunned a little bit as well. And lastly, from a combat standpoint, usually lizards fall into two categories. One will be like a fire casting mage, which is very red aligned, and then the other is an assassin, which we know from Magic's history, assassins always tend to show up in black. This is because they are able to somehow imbue their flames with a sort of venom, very assassin-esque. Okay, tea break. Right, we're nearly there. So, Batfolk. What makes the Batfolk align with black mana? So, for starters, bats have always been closely related to black mana through their association with vampires and all that stuff. They are nocturnal, the Batfolk. They live in the darkness. Okay, you don't really get more black mana than that. Their job in Valley is to defend Valley citizens in the nighttime. So when all the other animal folk are tucked up in their beds, the Batfolk are, they're flying around and they are watching out for danger. Now, because of this, they find it quite hard to form strong relationships with the other citizens of Valley. We're seeing some themes here because they don't really have much of a chance to form bonds with them because they're active while the others are asleep. And there's all these kind of stories and rumors that the Batfolk are a little bit, weird, aloof, and what's the word I would say, eccentric. So the Batfolk have a connection, an obsession with the stars, kind of seen as a connection for power. They want the power and they want to do this through any means necessary. And their way of doing this is through spiritual, ritualistic methods methods which could be seen as quite extreme methods to obtain a power. Again, this is be seen as a black mana trait. They believe in the necessity of darkness, of shadow. There is no light without the dark. They understand the evils of the world, the malevolence of the world, and they are not afraid to dabble in it. They use life force from the other animal folk in order to drain the power and use that to defend them. They are doing quite a sinister thing for a good reason. They're trying to help, but it is said that some of these methods for obtaining this life force is quite heavy-handed. Doesn't say exactly what these methods are, but we can use our imagination. I mean, maybe they're just, you know, having a little nibble, sucking their blood like this. Ah. So yeah, that's why I think the bat folk are aligned with black mana. So a common theme with all these animal folk is that they generally seem to be considered aloof and enigmatic by other denizens in Valley. Kind of like outcasts, as they seem to be isolated from the rest of society. The black mana animal folk are the mysterious and the misunderstood. All have access to great power, however this differs in nature and how it is obtained for each of them. We see the necessity of black mana within this plane, as without its secrecy there would be calamity. Without its pragmatism there would be chaos when hard times hit, and without its chaos there would be left undefended against the harsh realities of nature's hand. I think Bloomburrow has done really well to show that black mana can be represented without it being shown in a demonic and evil way, and instead it delves into the deeper philosophy behind black mana by showcasing its values above all else. Thank you for watching this Magic philosophy video. I really love this side of Magic, and I could not wait to share this video with you all. If you like this video, then why not please the algorithm by giving a like, comment, and even subscribing to the channel so you do not miss any of my future videos. That's all for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you all in the next one. Cheers.